Should inmates be the first to get the vaccine? Yes. Inmates should be among those first in line because incarceration facilities tend to be shitholes full of people with health conditions living in close quarters who must be cared for and are handled by essential workers who must also have close contact with them because it's a prison. You might feel as though inmates don't deserve to be among those who are the first to get the vaccine, but I'm starting to tell you the facts don't care about your feelings. Many prisons are overcrowded, and thus there is not enough room to socially distance. In some circumstances, there are 40 people to a room. So if you work in a facility where there are 40 people sleeping in a room like New York, do you really think that the employees can effectively socially distance, let alone the inmates? Many buildings are older than our solar system, so they have poor ventilation, poor sanitation, and poor food preparation. Prison has the effect of fucking up people's bodies as they age, their bodies deteriorate. They often have underlying illnesses like diabetes, asthma, and seizures. Prisons include people of all ages with underlying health conditions, as well as those over the age of 65 who live in congregate settings. You can believe that inmates don't deserve to get the vaccine because it should go to people who haven't committed crimes, but that view is purely based on feelings. And as the old Ben Shapiro has ever so eloquently stated, facts don't care about your feelings. The fact is that a contagious disease can rampage through a prison like a white supremacist mob seizing the Capitol building. According to the Marshall Project, San Quentin saw over 28 of its 2,200 inmates who had contracted COVID-19 die. Nearly 1,700 of the nearly 250,000 prisoners who tested positive for COVID-19 died. They had to set up tents in the prison yard to deal with the crisis. A judge ordered the prison to release 1,500 inmates. When those people get sick in those numbers, they are sent to local hospitals, further stretching resources. If those facts haven't convinced you, then consider this. The people working at the prison are essential workers, and 108 of the 62,000 prison employees who have contracted SARS-CoV-2 have died, according to the Marshall Project. Simply giving the vaccine to employees isn't effective either because 3,600 federal prisoners who are sick vastly outnumber the 1,200 employees who are ill. There isn't enough solitary to put all of the inmates in, and essential workers will still have to have close contact with them because there is no way, as far as I know, to effectively keep them all out of close contact with each other. The belief that inmates don't deserve to get the vaccine before the general population is based on the traditional and compatibilist desert theory view of responsibility. According to this theory, agents have autonomy and can be held responsible for their actions unless they've been coerced. The inmate committed a crime, so they deserve to be punished. And they are being punished in prison serving a sentence. The don't give inmates vaccines along with other long-term care facilities argument takes this to the next level. This view tacks on punishments that I'd argue are morally excessive. Imagine being pulled over for speeding and receiving a ticket for $150. When you go to pay the ticket, the cost jumped to $200. They tacked on $50 because the city didn't properly plan for a natural disaster. You were ready to pay what you owed. Is it fair that you pay the extra money? It is agreed that you broke the law and that you are making recompense. Why should you pay extra? When the don't give inmates vaccines along with other long-term care facilities, people are arguing their point, it could be akin to them arguing that you should pay the extra $50. They might respond by saying that the analogy is flawed because no one is in prison for speeding. That's not the point, but I'll humor it. Yeah, so maybe so. However, it's clear that due to the universal nature of your argument, frankly, you don't give a damn. Your view doesn't allow for nuance. Does the particular situation of each inmate matter? What about those wrongly convicted or those serving time for minor offenses? You don't care what they did or didn't do. You are probably assuming that all inmates are murderers, rapists, drug dealers, etc. There are people in prison for nonviolent offenses, and it's pretty clear that getting sick in one of those shitty facilities is almost a death sentence. Consider this. Does someone convicted of a minor crime deserve to die? And if your answer is no, then you should be for letting inmates be among the first to get the vaccine. If your answer is yes, then you will probably be okay with a state that murders its citizens for minor offenses, i.e. George Floyd, or for a state killing people for no reason, i.e. Breonna Taylor. There is an issue with responsibility. The inmate is already being punished for a crime that our justice system has found them guilty of. Why should they suffer for something the government screwed up? The response to the pandemic by the United States government has been beyond abysmal. The White House under Trump has all of the blood on their hands. Arguing against inmates getting the vaccine with other long-term care facilities is essentially punishing people for something they are not responsible for. And if you want to argue there are still criminals who committed crimes they don't deserve it, then I'll repeat that they are already being punished for those crimes, and the health is not a reward that you earn. In fact, the Supreme Court has long recognized that when the state takes a person into its custody and holds them there against their will, the Constitution imposes upon it a corresponding duty to assume some responsibility for his safety and well-being, or their safety and well-being, whatever. You get the point.